it's 6 o'clock. Appreciate everybody coming out tonight in this rainy weather. Thank the Lord for all this rain. Let's all stand, go to prayer and say pledge allegiance. Charles, if you will, say some prayer.
Dear most gracious Heavenly Father, we do thank you for your blessings that you give to us. And Father, we thank you for the rain that you've sent to replenish your earth. Father, we just come to you as needy people, Father. We need your help. We need your guidance, Father. And just pray that you would be in this meeting this evening. Father, just bless our county, bless our state, and bless our nation. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, appreciate everybody coming out tonight. You want to amend the agenda?
That is correct. If you take care of item 3, then I will amend the agenda following.
Okay. Well, they need approval of the minutes of regular board meeting on September the 10th and the public hearing on September the 10th. So I hear a motion.
Mr. Chairman, after review of those minutes, I would recommend that we approve those.
Okay.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor? All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would make a motion that we amend the agenda. It has been brought to my attention that item 4, Pam Spivey, Franklin County Humane Society, she will not be able to attend tonight. So I would ask that we remove that from the agenda and move item 8, County Attorney Samuel's IBA bonds for Emmanuel College up to item 4.
Okay. Got a motion here, second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Okay, thank you. So I'll turn it over to Bubba right now for the bonds.
All right, and I'll ask Andrew Grant to come forward and present the item.
I also have with me representatives from the Union College. They'd like to come up and go on those questions. Provided to your council, and hopefully in your packets, is a resolution that we're asking you to pass, authorizing bonds on behalf of Emmanuel College. These gentlemen can give you the specifics as to what the bond's for. Some debt is being retired, and they have some projects. The bottom line for you all is you aren't backing them. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Any commissioner got any questions?
They were very thorough and detailed in the last presentation of the bonds.
All right, we'll hear a motion to.
I would ask if our
Prior to any action, I believe that 2 of the commissioners have stated a potential conflict that requires an abstention. Commissioners Coffin and Harper both note for the record their association with Emmanuel College and therefore abstain from any action on the matter.
Correct. At this time, Mr. Chairman, I would make the motion that we enter into the agreement with the IBA and Emmanuel College for the bonds.
Okay. I guess I'm going to second and vote for it. All in favor then? All right. Motion carries.
Thank you so much, and
Thank
thank you
you
for moving us to the top of the list.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item is Commissioner Jakes with state aid at LMIG and Ruby Case and Mayon Road.
Okay, 2 items real quick on state aid and LBIG, Mr. Chairman. As I'm sure most of my colleagues on the board, as well as others here in attendance, are aware, the Georgia Department of Transportation for years has been a conduit for the appropriations of monies back to the counties for assistance with roads, bridges. I would ask, can everybody hear for the purpose of clarification? You, Ms. Flores?
I can hear a little bit of it.
Okay.
Speak into it.
Okay.
Thank you.
The Georgia Department of Transportation has been a conduit for the appropriations of money back to cities and counties for years. Recently, there has been a change. Number 1, just in the name, it went from state aid to LMIG, where the department used to allocate different types of fundings for road improvements, intersection improvements, bridges, culverts, etc. They have decided no longer to do that. They are doing more in the lines of what is called a block grant, allocating counties a lump sum one time a year. Okay, as everybody is aware, there was a T-SPLOST vote which recently occurred throughout the state. There were 12 regions, and each region had an opportunity to decide on the addition of a 1-cent sales tax for transportation-related projects. Franklin County being in one of the 9 districts that said T-SPLOST did not pass. Okay. GDOT in years past with the state aid, it was either a 100% funding on projects, just depending on the type of project, or it was funding requiring 10% from the county. With legislation that was passed in last session to where the T-SPLOST legislation was derived, has imposed a penalty on counties and regions that fail to pass the T-SPLOST. They are, via legislative action, adding a 30% penalty on all of the counties in the regions that did not pass this tax. This is another unfunded mandate that has been imposed on the counties. It was placed by the state legislature, is a means to compel counties and regions to vote for the tax, otherwise you are to be penalized. This was placed via legislative action. And what I'm here tonight to discuss with my colleagues on the board as well as others, since legislative action placed this 30% penalty inside of the new LMIG requiring the county to match any funding at 30%. I'm proposing that we contact our local legislative delegation and request that they immediately, once the new session is convened, put forth legislation that is going to eliminate this 30% penalty which has been imposed upon counties and regions which were an attempt to compel people to vote for this tax. And I think that as people can see, looking at the 9 regions of where it failed, the large percentage that were opposed, it is a very unpopular piece of legislation that I personally believe needs to be undone as soon as legislature convenes. I have spoken with Representative Powell as well as others, and my recommendation would be that we collectively as a board write a letter to our Representative Alan Powell and our Senator John Wilkinson requesting that they sponsor legislation as soon as the Georgia legislature reconvenes, and this being on the top of the list, and they work with our county, the cities in the county, as well as other counties, and remove this mandate and this penalty on our counties as well as others throughout the state. And Billy, I would like us also, I have talked with elected officials in adjacent counties, and they appear to have the same mindset as we do. I think there needs to be a collective effort amongst all of our adjacent counties, if not reaching out even further. But my proposal to the board is that we contact Senator Wilkinson and Representative Powell. We write a letter requesting their assistance in removing this legislation that is going to penalize Franklin County for a very unpopular piece of legislation. And in the letter, I would like to have them respond back to us by the next meeting, and we can share their response with those in attendance in our county. But I would like to defer to my colleagues for additional comments and or direction.
I think we absolutely need to take some action with our legislators and let them know our position on this, and I would be in favor also of drafting a letter and sending it.
Well, I think that this piece of legislation is shameful.
Not only that, I don't believe it's even constitutional. When you force somebody to vote for a tax increase or penalize them, what kind of legislation is that to start with? I would hope that everybody here would get in touch with their representative and let them know that if you're against this, because they were forcing the state's hand in voting in the T-SPLOST, but it didn't work out as they had hoped. But I definitely think that we need to take action.
Well, I think we need to remind people too what's at stake. We have, as we discussed, several dangerous intersections that we really need state help to be able to alleviate the problems. And outside of that, we're just going to be next nearly impossible for us to do it. So it's really impacting safety here in our county.
Well, I concur with everything y'all said, and I think we need to draft a letter and then all of us sign it.
Absolutely.
And Billy, you want to go ahead and draft that?
We will do that.
And we have already forewarned at least Representative Powell. I could not get a hold of Senator Wilkinson, but I would hope that Billy or if somebody else could address that issue. And during public comment, I would really appreciate feedback from the public regarding any support or guidance that y'all could provide us regarding this critical issue. Secondly, also referencing the GDOT State Aid and LMIG program. GDOT this year has adopted the policy of, on the monies that are allocated, and I do want to clarify, these are our monies that we pay back to the state.
Yes.
And we're getting just a small portion back. But this year, with the LMIG and state aid program, the Georgia Department of Transportation has stopped providing services inclusive of providing estimates, design, construction management, materials testing, etc. We're already looking at a 30% penalty if we cannot eliminate this legislation. These components of construction that I have just discussed could potentially add 20 to 25% additional cost to a project. And we have had these services provided in the past by GDOT. GDOT has the infrastructure in place, they have the offices, they have the personnel, they have the certifications. That is one reason why GDOT is structured like it is in different areas throughout the state to be able to provide assistance to said cities and counties. Again, if we are looking at, and this is a round number, of $400,000 coming back from the state to Franklin County in the form of LMIG funds, by the time that you have to add 30% match for the penalty and an additional 20% to go out and provide engineering, design, estimating, handling the administration of the project and the contract, handling the materials inspection, etc., we are going from what was formerly 0% up to 10%, depending on the type of project. Now we're going to 40% to 50% with local match. And again, I'm appealing to my colleagues on the board as well as the citizens that we get a hold of our elected officials and that this new mandate not be imposed on our county where we're having to utilize our resources when these resources are already out there, they're available, the infrastructure, the network, the personnel, the certifications. So again, I would ask that we draft a letter and that we work through our state representative and state senator, and I do want to clarify, this particular change was not mandated through legislative action. It was mandated internally inside of GDOT.
Right.
But I think it's going to take legislative action to compel them to provide the service that has been provided for so many years. And if they are looking at terminating that type of service, at least give the counties ample time to be able to transition and look at alternatives for providing these particular services ourselves. And I, for one, am ready to draw the line in the sand when it comes to the state and federal mandates on our county. As you're aware, we just recently had 3 cents of sales tax on certain energy users totally removed from this county. We had other changes, eliminating certain ad valorem taxes and changes and modifications there that are going to adversely impact our county's revenue stream. And it's time for us as citizens, as elected officials, to draw a line in the sand and make sure that our elected officials are passing legislation that is not going to adversely impact us on a local level. And I'm sorry, but I've had it.
Well, I think it's time that we start holding accountable our representatives. They've sent so many mandates. It's almost like they're trying to bankrupt every county in the state. I don't know what kind of power grab they've got going on, but I'm ready to draw that line with you.
We'll get that letter sent off as soon as possible.
In particular, on the first letter, my request is, and if y'all are in agreement, that we ask for a response back that we can share publicly at our next meeting and provide the citizens with an update as to where our legislative delegation will stand in helping us to rid us of this so-called penalty.
And if we do not get a response, we'll also make that public.
We'll move on to the next, Rudy Case and Mayor.
I do apologize, Mr. Chairman, for being so lengthy regarding that issue. Mr. Chairman, I was asked by Commissioner Whitby via email to bring forth a proposal to the county on Rue de Quezon May. It is a pre-existing roadway located off of Hunters Creek Road. Commissioner Whitby, as well as Billy and John, our county engineer, have been working with certain residents who have requested a maintenance easement on a certain portion of this road. It is my understanding, Billy, that all the residents have signed the appropriate documentation for properties adjacent to the road, including the cul-de-sac down to parcel 018057, and I want to pass this down so everybody on the board can have a visual to see the area that has been in question as far as the residents wanting taken on per our road policy are highlighted in green, beginning at Hunters Creek and extending down here to the parcel that I just mentioned.
That is correct. We have the permanent easements from those folks, which means they will get basically ditch-to-ditch maintenance.
Okay. Well, that being said, I would...
This is a dirt road, correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Well, that being said, in accordance with our road policy, I would make the motion that we enter into the maintenance agreement with the residents of Rue de Quezon May, as denoted on this plan sheet, terminating at parcel 018057 and beginning at Hunters Creek Road.
You got a motion? Here's a second.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor? All right, thank you. The next item is Commissioner Coffin.
While we're on that theme, I'll go ahead and talk about roof floor delay. We seem to be stuck on that as well. I brought it up last meeting and we've had some discussion about it, but what I would like to propose tonight is a very specific proposal that would include roof floor delay from this intersection with Highway 328, following on to its intersection with Brittany Harbor North, and that would include the little spur that's known as roof floor delay extension. I propose that this be placed on the new maintenance agreement with Franklin County, and that's formerly known as the 18-month construction easement. This would allow us to work the road. This road, once upon a time, was formerly paved. It's not paved anymore. There's hardly any pavement out there. I propose that this road be placed on the program with a clear understanding of the following stipulations. This is for a maintenance easement only, and Franklin County is not placing this road into inventory. The road will be worked and maintained as a dirt and gravel road, and the residents understand the road will not be paved for the foreseeable future. This is only to allow passage of this road, which is almost close to impossible now.
Okay, we got a motion, do I hear a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, the next item is Commissioner Harper.
Yes, it was brought to my attention that we've had some, I want to talk about our travel and our travel expenses and training. In the past year, we've had almost $10,000 of travel expenses and education and training from what I gather, one single commissioner. I think that we need, there's two things I want to discuss tonight. Number one, if we can put a moratorium on training and travel unless it's mandatory. I know we've got some mandatory training coming up with our new commissioners coming in for the rest of the year, and then we can address it with our new board. And number two, could we have something, I've spoken with Billy briefly, didn't give him much time to think on it. Could we have because I want us to be as open as possible. I want everybody in this county to know exactly what's going on. There doesn't need to be any secrets whatsoever. If we spend something on travel, you need to know it.
Absolutely.
And if we can, if it's legitimate, then we certainly can defend our actions. I would like monthly some way to put it in with our budget, or when you go over our budget every month, if there has been travel expenses by the board. I don't know if I don't see why it wouldn't be possible, but
Possible.
Absolutely.
that way, everybody knows what we're doing, where we're standing, and how much money we're spending.
That can be extracted directly off the credit card report,
Exactly.
which basically all expenditures.
Yeah, I want I want gas reimbursement, hotel, everything in that. I just think it would be, we should have done it a long time ago. I didn't realize that we had as big a problem as we did, and that was my oversight.
Are you asking for the second one in the form of a motion? I think it would be appropriate.
Yes, I would ask if I would actually like to make a motion, and I would want to confer to council. We can put a moratorium on unnecessary, unmandated travel for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I worry that what is mandated may be a little vague, but.
Where it is necessary as our position. I know in December there's going to be a mandated training that we have to go through. That should be the only training that is mandated.
And the moratorium would extend through the end of this.
Through the end of the year until the new board.
Yeah, I think that's legal.
Okay. Do I need to make two motions, or can I put this in one?
Just do two, please.
Okay. That would be my first motion.
Okay, second.
Okay, all in favor? All right.
And my second motion would be that we make it public knowledge on all travel, hotel expense, training from all the commissioners on a monthly basis.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Thank you.
All right, the next item is county manager report.
Yes, sir. We will start with the financial report. This is the report for the period ending August 31st. As you can see on the wall there, this is 16.67% of the fiscal year has passed. Moving on to our outstanding debt, no annual or quarterly payments were paid since our last report last month. However, we did make a monthly payment, so our overall debt has been reduced by $2,400. You can see we still have that one outstanding obligated debt that has not started making payments on that yet. That's our outstanding debt. Moving on, looking at our cash, we were able to maintain our cash balance in August with obligated cash at unobligated cash, at $674,000, and our overall cash at $4.8 million. Moving to look at the general fund revenue are at 9% of budget, right where we would expect to be at this time of the fiscal year. Moving on down through the expenses, you can see at the bottom here that expenses are right where we should be at 16% of the year for the general fund. Moving on to the E911 fund, E911 charges are in good shape at 18%. With expenses under budget at 13%. Looking at the water fund, water revenues are also right on target at 16% total. You see 19% charges of service, so that's in good shape water sales. And also the water fund expenses are under budget at 13%. Solid waste fund user fees are slightly under budget at 14%, but expenses are also under budget at 11%. And then I look at the summary of all four of our major funds, show that total revenues are at 10% and expenses at 16%. So that's the financial report. Unless you have any questions, we'll move on. Okay. All right, moving on to the next item concerns ambulance services. In an effort to maintain a high level of public safety services provided by ambulances in Franklin County, I am requesting your consideration of an ambulance services ordinance. The proposed ordinance establishes minimum standards for ambulances operating in Franklin County and is designated to prevent unnecessary delays when receiving ambulance services. The ordinance requires all ambulances to register with the Franklin County EMS Department and to be inspected for the purpose of compliance with this ordinance. Additionally, all ambulances other than those providing non-emergency transports shall be capable of providing advanced life support. And advanced life support is defined in the ordinance and includes the requirement that ambulances have equipment and personnel capable of providing immediate critical care. The ordinance further requires that the ambulance service have a permanent base in Franklin County, be available 24/7, have a backup unit if needed, and have radio communications and utilize Franklin County E911 for all emergency calls. And your consideration would be appreciated at this time, and EMS Director Terry Harris is present, and we'll try to answer any questions you might have concerning this ordinance.
Any questions?
I would hope that we could delay this action until I know more about it, because on the surface it appears that this is just hampering businesses from coming in and providing the service. There's state regulations as far as emergency ambulance services that, of course, the county actually abides by also. from what I see, now I may be wrong, but from what I see, it's more of trying to keep any emergency services out, in which cutting down on competition. It's kind of, I think any ordinances needs to be very carefully considered. So I'm not prepared to vote on it as of yet.
I think any time the health and safety of the public stands at risk, I think we need to be very cautious about it, and it seems like this addresses those certain needs. Terry, do we need to take action on it tonight, or?
No, not tonight. I mean,
There's not any
the
services.
ordinance, the biggest thing it addresses is, everything that's in the ordinance is capabilities that we have, all the stipulations. And I just want to make sure that
A certain minimal level of service
Right.
provided by anybody who's under the umbrella of being able to
But
provide.
isn't state standards that?
not to that level of standard, no.
So state regulations would not regulate the same standards as the county goes by.
The county has to go by the same state standards as any animal service in the state of Georgia.
And as long as they pass those state standards, they're legal to operate in the state of Georgia.
Yes,
But you're
sir.
saying our standards are more stringent, and you basically just want somebody else that's coming into the county to have a level playing field. That's what I'm reading?
Yeah, I just want, if another service comes here, then they're providing the same level of care that Franklin County provides.
But I think this ordinance goes beyond that, with them not being able to publish their telephone number and things like that. I mean, there's a lot more involved in this ordinance than just safety issues. It looks to me that it's trying to keep businesses out of the county and therefore keeping competition out. That's just what it appears to me.
I personally don't have a problem with it as written, but Glenn, if you have concerns, I have no problem with us discussing it further
I would like
and taking
this.
action
Because
next month.
there's no companies like that here or a foreseeable future.
Yeah, no,
So it's not emergency transport.
okay.
There's two services that have the capability to run emergency health in Franklin County.
Right.
But they
Now,
don't,
they're running non-emergency.
right, they're running
They could
non-emergency.
run emergency because they have the same state license.
Correct.
I agree, well, we can look at it further and maybe
Okay.
put it on the agenda. for
I
next
would feel more comfortable, and
Absolutely.
I'd like to talk to Terry more about it. and-
Okay.
and
Is the-
whatnot. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
is the item is it being deferred to the next agenda?
Yes. All right, we'll move on to the next item, is extension, Secretary of Treasury.
Yes, sir. The Franklin County Extension Office has hired a new employee for the secretary position. This employee was previously employed and was a previous employee of the university system and was enrolled in one of their retirement plans. Unfortunately, the plan she has is not one of the plans directly offered by the Extension Service. In order to maintain her retirement plan, the county is being asked to contract for the secretarial services. The county would be reimbursed for the expenses associated with this arrangement.
I'll make a motion that we do that. It's not gonna cost the county anything, and from my conversation with Billy, it's maybe not commonly done, but it's done quite often, so I don't
I
have any
can
problem.
understand the reason and rationale, and I'll thereby second.
Okay, got a motion, second, all in favor?
Now, Billy,
Thank you.
will this arrangement have to be made on an annual basis? Because all this covers is to the end of fiscal year of 2013. I don't want to get into a situation to where at the end of that time frame, then the county then becomes liable for additional retirement and or compensation.
It says down here, Bubba, you might want to help me with this very last sentence, you see that?
I don't have that before me, and
Oh,
I
you
don't
don't?
think I was asked to review it, so I
Okay.
cannot review it.
Okay, all right, well, I did send it to you. But the Northeast District Extension will be allowed to rebudget funds without prior written approval from Franklin County as long as such rebudgeting does not result in an increase in the compensation authorized in this year's budget.
That's right, that's this year's to June 2013 13th. I just want to make sure that going forward,
Yeah.
that stipulation is not removed, and then the county thereby becomes liable for additional compensation. Thank you for the clarification.
All right, we'll move on to the next item. The next item is public comment. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When you all get together to type that letter to Senator Wilkerson and to Powell, what's the possibilities of having it published in the newspaper and or the real sergeant to inform the people that we want to stand up and be counted, and like you said, draw that line in the sand?
Just make it be public knowledge.
Yes.
I think so, so if you.
I think we,
You want a motion to that, to carry it, but whatever is necessary.
I think we need a
Well,
motion.
hey, you never know.
we'll get it in the paper.
Okay, good.
Any other public comment? Please.
I'm just really happy for the way the meeting was conducted tonight. I want to thank all of you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Being a new commissioner coming on the first of the year, I concur with Jeff, and I tell you, it's when they start tying your hands and you try to swim without your hands and your feet, it gets pretty hard. And we need to do everything we can to get our representatives all over the state and all neighboring counties to do, because it looks good for them, but it sure does push it back on us.
Right.
Anybody? If nobody else, do I hear a motion that we go out of regular session to executive session?
I'll make a motion.
Second, and it is for the discussion of property acquisition.
Acquisition of property. All right, all in favor? We shall be back in just a few minutes.